Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Arrange the following hills from east to west. Jaintia Hills, Sadar Hills, Garo Hills, Khasi Hills. The answer to this is 2143. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the Khasi Hills. When we look into the question, it is asking for the arrangement from the east to the west direction. So what we have first is the Sadar Hills, followed by the Jaintia Hills, then we have the Khasi Hills, and finally what we have the Garo Hills. So if you look into the option, what we have is 2143. So the answer to this would be 2143. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements. The first municipal corporation in India was set up at Madras. All the members of a municipality shall be elected directly by the people of the municipal area, and the State Election Commission may provide the manner of election of the chairperson of a municipality. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act established the system of urban local government. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is one only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the urban local body polls. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option, the first municipal corporation in India was set up at Madras. This is a right statement. So the first option is correct. When we look into the second option, all the members of a municipality shall be elected directly by the people of the municipal area. This is the right statement. What would happen? There would be a designation of something called as the watch. These watch will have the people. These people would go up to and elect their corporators. So in the municipal areas, in the corporations, what you would have is the corporators. These corporators are elected directly by the people, and such a constituency is what is called as the watch. The first part of the statement is right. But when you look into the second part of the statement, the State Election Commission may provide the manner of election of the chairperson of a municipality. This is the wrong statement. Why? It is not the State Election Commission, but instead it is the state legislature who has the power to prescribe the manner of election of chairperson of a municipality, and not the State Election Commissioner. So remember, it is the state legislature who would be able to do it. They are designated such a power, but the State Election Commission has no role when it comes to awarding such a manner of elections. Now when we look into the third statement, the 73rd Constitutional Amendment established the system of urban local governments. This is a wrong statement. Why? It is not 73rd Constitutional Amendment, but instead it is 74th Constitutional Amendment. When we speak about the 73rd Constitutional Amendment, it is to do with rural local bodies, which is the panchayat system that exists in India, and not to do with the urban local bodies. For the urban local bodies, the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act was passed, and what we have is the establishment of the urban local bodies. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to first information report, which of the following statements are correct? It is not defined in the Indian Penal Code or the Code of Criminal Procedure. An FIR should contain an exhaustive account of the incident. An FIR that can be lodged in any police station, irrespective of any territorial jurisdiction of the police station, is called the zero FIR. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 3 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Indian Express makes a reference to the FIR. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option, it says it is not defined in the Indian Penal Code or the Code of the Criminal Procedure. This is the right statement. What do you understand from this? That the word FIR, what it means is not defined in the Indian Penal Code or in the Code of the Criminal Procedure. But where is it mentioned? It is mentioned in the Code of the Criminal Procedure under section 154. Under section 154, it makes a mention of what the procedure is with respect to the first information information, but it does not define what the first information report is all about. When we look into the laws, there are two types of laws. One is what is called as the substantive law. The other is what is called as the procedural law. What is the substantive law? An example of substantive law happens to be the Indian Penal Code. An example of the substantive law happens to be the Contract Act. An example of the substantive law happens to be the Transfer of Property Act, where it defines what are the punishments, what are the compensation methods. If there is a damage, what can that particular person do? So what it lays is a substantive ingredient with respect to the law. Then we have the Code of the Criminal Procedure. Then we also have the Evidence Act. Then we also have Code of the Civil Procedure as well. So the CRPC, the Evidence Act, and then the CPC is what is called as the procedural law. If there is a murder that has occurred in a particular place, what would happen? There will be Indian Penal Code provisions, but how this murder investigation has to be conducted is prescribed in the procedure to be followed by the police officers. So we have the procedural code, which is the Code of the Criminal Procedure. We have the substantive law, which is the Indian Penal Code. In neither of these laws, FIR is defined. So the first statement is right. An FIR should contain an exhaustive account of the incident. This is a wrong statement. What exactly happens with respect to FIR? We have something called as the cognizable offense. What is a cognizable offense? Let's say, for example, a murder, a dacoity, or let's say there is a rape. In all these instances, the police officers need not have to take the permission from the magistrate. They can directly go ahead and arrest that particular person. So a cognizable offense is one where the gravity is more, the magnitude is more, and the police officers need not have to wait for the magistrate to give the permission, is what is called as a cognizable offense. How do you differentiate between a cognizable offense and a non-cognizable offense? You have what is called as a Schedule 1 in the CRPC. So you have all the sections of the Indian Penal Code. For a particular section, the CRPC would have prescribed whether it is a cognizable offense or a non-cognizable offense. So you check the Schedule 1 of the CRPC, and if it is murder, it is a cognizable offense. In such cases, these officers need not have to wait for the magistrate to give permission. So in the FIR, it is mostly for the cognizable cases that the police officers go and arrest a person. So what is this FIR? The first information report. Let's assume for a moment there is a person who's committed a murder. I've seen that particular act. So what do? I go to the police station. I say the police officers that, dear police officer, I saw a man committing a murder. So I, as a person, am giving the first information to the police officers. So the first time a person goes and voices his opinion orally or in writing to the police officer is what is called as first information report. So the information given to the police officers is taken in the form of a report. That is what is called as first information report. Does it have to be exhaustive? No. Why? Because I do not know why that particular person committed that murder. It might also be a cause of self-defense as well. So this particular first information report need not be an exhaustive one. I do not have to give all the information because I personally may not know what is happening. So the first information report need not be exhaustive, which means it need not have to have all the information pertaining to that committal of an illegal act. So the second statement is wrong, as an FIR need not contain all the exhaustive accounts or circumstances of that particular incident. When we look into the third statement, an FIR that can be lodged in any police station irrespective of any territorial jurisdiction of the police station is called the zero FIR. This statement is right. What do we mean by zero FIR? Let's say, for example, there is a particular police station. The police station has this as the jurisdiction. Let's say, for example, a particular area, a constituency, let's say consider a district. Hypothetical example. Let's say, for example, it has to look into all the criminal cases that are happening in this particular jurisdiction. So there is another jurisdiction where there is a murder that has occurred or there is a rape that has occurred. But this particular incident has occurred in this jurisdiction, but the person does not know if he has to go to this police station or to this police station. So what he does, he directly goes to another police station, files an information, that is the FIR, with respect to a cognizable offense. So in this case, the police officers will have to take this particular case and then pass it on to this jurisdictional police station. So what is the zero FIR concept? The murder might have occurred in a different jurisdiction. They have to accept it, and if it does not fall under a particular jurisdiction, they can transfer the case to that particular jurisdiction where they feel this case has to be investigated, which is called as zero FIR. So since the second statement is wrong, the answer to this would be 1 and 3 only. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements are incorrect with respect to International Bank for Reconstruction and Development? The bank only finances sovereign governments directly or projects backed by sovereign governments. IBRD offers its borrowers products to convert or swap their IBRD loans into their domestic currencies. Which of the statements are incorrect? Since it is asking for the incorrect statement, the answer to this is none. Why? Because both the statements given here happens to be the right statement. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the PIB makes a reference to International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. When we speak about the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, it is the world's largest development bank. It provides loans, guarantees, advisory services and risk management products to middle income and credit-worthy low-income countries. Middle income countries represent more than 60% of the IBRD's portfolio, and IBRD only deals with sovereign governments and not private players. So remember, IBRD sources most of it from the world's financial market. So if you look into this statement, yes, IBRD only deals with the sovereign governments and not with the private players, and IBRD also offers products to the countries where it can be in the form of domestic currencies as well. Since it is asking for the incorrect statement, the answer to this would be none. This article here also makes a mention of the reward project. What is this reward project? Basically, it is called as the Rejuvenating Watersheds for Agriculture Resilience through Innovative Developmental Project. What does it do? Basically, there are number of rivers, number of lakes, number of water areas where it is not being used efficiently, or there might also be areas where the water from a particular region might enter into a particular river, causing pollution as well. So this particular project is basically helping in watershed management, where effective use of the water will be undertaken. So you have the government of India, you have World Bank enter into an agreement with the state governments of Karnataka and Odisha, whereby they want to have a watershed management in place and ultimately rejuvenate the watershed in this area is what is called as the reward project. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements. The Montague-Chelmsford Reforms of 1919 recommended granting voting rights to all women above the age of 21. The Government of India Act of 1935 gave women reserved seats in the legislature. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is 2 only. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2021. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is Bureau of Indian Standards. Let us try and understand what is this Bureau of Indian Standards. The Bureau of Indian Standards happens to be a statutory body. This was established under the Bureau of Indian Standards Act of 2016. So this is a statutory body, and this happens to be a national standard body of India established under the Bureau of Indian Acts of 2016 for what? For making sure that all the developmental activities have a prescribed standard whereby goods and services are given a marking and quality certification is provided, and for all matters related to quality check, what we require is an authentication. Such an authentication about the quality, about the standard of a particular good will be provided by the Bureau of Indian Standards. So the Bureau of Indian Standards is regulated under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs. When we look into some of the important features, we have the Bureau of Indian Standards. Where is it headquartered? It is headquartered in New Delhi. So this can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. It also has a bureau of body consisting of about 25 members. These 25 members prescribe what should be the functionality of the Bureau of Indian Standards. This will have members from the central and the state governments, members of the parliament, industry, scientific and research community, consumer organizations, whereby for every product that is released, whether that particular product should be given a quality tag or not will be decided by this body corporate, which consists of about 25 members. Also, from the preliminary examination point of view, remember the BIS is a founding member of International Organization for Standardization. It also represents India in the International Organization for Standardization, the International Electrotechnical Commission, and the World Standards Service Network. So what are the benefits of the Bureau of Indian Standards? Basically, it will provide the safe, reliable quality goods. People would be assured that quality goods would be given to them, minimizing the health hazards to the consumers. Why? Because the quality check is already done, promoting exports and import substitute. Thereby, a quality assurance would be given, the product would be certified, and this will also enhance the exports and at the same time control the proliferation of varieties through standardization, certification, and testing, and fake products will be ultimately eliminated. So the act allows the union government to make it compulsory for certain notified goods, processes and articles to carry out this standard mark. So the government of India can make some products compulsory to bear this particular product, and in few cases it can also have self declaration of conformity as well. According to the act, the central government has the power to appoint any agency other than the BIS to verify the conformity of the product and services and issue of the conformity certificate. And let's say there is a particular product, let's take the example of helmets. The helmets are released into the market, but they are not meeting the standards as prescribed by the BIS. In such a case, they can recall all these helmets from the market and also repair and send it back into the market as well. So they also have the power to recall and repair the products that bear the standard mark but do not conform to the required Indian standard. The act has identified new areas for standardization, which include medical devices, alternative fuels, smart cities, e-mobility, new and renewable energy, and digital technologies as well. And in case there is any of the company which is violating it, penal provisions can also be imposed on them with a fine of up to 5 lakh as well. It is this that we have to understand with respect to the Bureau of Indian Standards. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.